So in order to make this menu accessible, and by accessible I mean it can be accessed by screen readers and also by people who navigate using the keyboard without any mouse access. So firstly, you should make sure that you have your focus ring, and the focus ring is this ring around links and buttons and stuff like that, and that will let you know which link you're currently focused on. So if you're navigating by keyboard and I'm now clicking tab, you will know exactly which link you're on. And if you click enter on one of these, it will go to this link. So make sure you have this focus ring. Actually, it's in most browsers it's there by default. So if we inspect this link and toggle the focus state, and I'm gonna remove my styling, so I'm gonna remove the focus outline, and this is the default browser one. You can change how it looks, but you should never remove it. You should never say focus outline none. And that's not only for the menu, that's for any link or button or any focusable element in your page. So that's the first thing. But now even that we have that and we are navigating using the tab key, I'm gonna remove I'm navigating using the tab key now, but for me now there is no way to open the submenu if I'm not having a mouse, and that's a problem, right? So to tackle that, there are multiple ways. So I'm gonna Google now accessible drop down menu, and you'll probably find the first link, and here you'll find multiple approaches. I chose to use this one. So this one, you can navigate using the tab, and they also have a down arrow like we do, but the down arrow they have is actually a button. So you can focus on it, you can click enter, and then you can continue navigating. So that's what we're gonna do for our menu. We're gonna turn our icons here into not just icons but buttons. So let's do that. So before doing this button thing, let's take a look at this one, and let's inspect and let's inspect the menu that has children. And if you take a look at the link, you will find that it has two ARIA attributes, and ARIA attributes are for accessibility for screen readers mainly. So as you might know, the ARIA attributes and accessibility thing, it's a big topic, and there is a lot to read about it, but I'm just gonna summarize this article. And what we need to do for each link, if it has a submenu, we need to add the ARIA has pop-up attribute, which will be true, and ARIA expanded attribute, which would be true if the menu is currently opened, and false if it's closed. So that's actually a great exercise to do, to use WordPress filters in order to modify this menu and add some attributes to the anchor tag. So we have this anchor tag here, we need to filter it and add some attributes to it. So let's go to navigation.js, .php, sorry, and let's add another filter. So let's create a new function and underscore theme name, and let's call it ARIA has drop down, and this filter will receive 3 attributes. So the first one is the attributes array. It's an array of attributes for the link, the anchor tag, and we can modify it and return it like any filter, and we'll see that in a moment. And the item, like this one, the navigation post object, and the args, which is also like this one, the arguments of the WP nav menus function. So we need to do the same thing. We need first to check if we are in the right menu. So let's copy this one, and also we need to check that if our current menu item has children. So let's copy this one also, and if so, we need to modify the attributes. So as I mentioned, the ATTS, or the attributes, is an array of the attributes, HTML attributes, for the link, not for the LI. So that's what we need. So we can add an attribute by just adding a new key to the array. So in our case, the key will be the attribute and the value will be the value. So has pop-up, and this will be true. Another one, aria expanded, and this will be false by default because by default the menu items will be closed. So let's save, and we actually did not add a filter. So it's called nav menu link attributes, and the function, we actually have a typo here, aria, and priority 10, and arguments we have 3. So let's save and let's take a look now. Okay, looks like we have an error. Okay, we forgot to return the filtered attributes. As you can see now, for the link that has a submenu, we now have our attributes. So great. So later we will, using JavaScript, we will manipulate these attributes. When the menu is opened, we will change aria expanded to true, and when it's closed, we'll reverse it, and so on. But for now, let's do the important part, which is turning this icon into a button. So we have this icon here, we added using this filter. So what we need to do is just to wrap it in a button. But I'm just gonna create a new function for this button, because this will be a lot of HTML, so you know, much better organization for your code. So let's call it button, and it will take some arguments, but let's just create our HTML. So let's create a new variable called button, and we'll open a button and give it a class, and this class will be used in JavaScript, so it's important to give it a class to be able to target this button. And inside this button, we'll need to concatenate the icon. So let's copy this and let's change this to button, and let's close the button tag. So concatenate, and so the first argument for this function will be the direction of the arrow, and let's give it a default value, and let's remove this and concatenate it using the function argument, and this function will return the HTML. And now we can use this function here, and this one will take the down arrow, and this one will take the right. So let's see now if this is working. We now have this as a button. So let's focus on this link and then tab. And now we are able to focus on the button. Of course, we don't have any functionality now. We will write some JavaScript in the next lecture, where we can click enter on the button and it will open the sub menu. But for now, let's just finish this up. So what we need to do is add some text for screen readers. So I think I've mentioned this a lot. If we have a button here that only has an icon, a screen reader user will not be able to tell what this button will do. So we need to add some screen reader text for this button, so that the screen readers will know what this button will do when it's focused. So let's add a span, and let's give it a class u-screen-reader-text. Sorry, because we don't need this text to appear actually, just need it for screen readers. And let's give it another class, and this would be for the JavaScript, which will be in the next section. and inside this span there will be something, and then we'll close the span. So inside the span we need to add some text. So I think the text for this button could be two things. It could be show the title of the menu and then submenu, so in this case show about the tests submenu, or if it's already opened it should read hide about the tests submenu. So how to do that? Let's go back now to the code. So the default text will be, let's do a printf, and you'll see why in a moment, and then escape HTML __, and then we type our text here, and then the text domain. So we need the text to be show, and then the title of the menu, and then submenu. So the second argument for the printf, it needs to be the title of the menu. So where do we get that from? We can pass it here in the function. It's the title, and then you can use it in the function. So now I have a span with a class menu button show, and its text says show and then the title submenu. But we need another one, so let's duplicate this and let's call this one menu button hide, and these classes are for the JavaScript as I mentioned, and this one will say hide the submenu, and this is what we need to be read out by the screen reader when the menu is already opened and we need to hide it. So by default the menu will be closed, so we need only the first text. So to make the screen readers ignore the other text, we can add aria hidden true, and this will be ignored. And using JavaScript, when the menu is opened, we will set this to false and then add aria hidden true for the first text. So I hope this makes sense to you. Let's now save and see what we have now, and the menus and the icons disappeared. I discovered a mistake I made, so I just forgot to add this closing tag here and here. So let's check again, and we now have our icon, our button. It has the icon and it has two spans. The second one will be hide and then about the tests, which is the menu title submenu. We need a space here, and this will be hidden by default. So by default this one will be read out by the screen reader, which is show the submenu. And using JavaScript we will reverse these two when the menu is opened. I hope it's clear now. Let's just add the space, or actually it's not a space issue, I just forgot to add the S, so sorry for that. And now there is a space before the submenu. Let's add the JavaScript logic for this button in the next lecture.